Hey, we're back, and now we're in the boardroom. We're talking Flame Toys and their officially licensed drift figure you might remember from a previous reviewer roundtable. Well, remember no longer because these memories will be better. This version is a lot more touchable than the last one. If you haven't seen the last roundtable, i.e. you're a bad person, this drift is by Flame Toys, working in conjunction with the Chemical Attack team, who you might remember from lines such as Sentinel's re-edit Iron Man series. And they have applied their linkage, articulation, and engineering prowess to drift, everyone's favorite lonesome soldier boy with swords. We're able to actually go into the articulation on this guy in a little bit more full detail this time. Before we do, I'll show you that he's got everything now. You know, he's got all of his pairs of hands. He's got 2 swords on either side. In sheaths, he's got a big sword with a big sheath. He's got a peg here to go onto his back. He's got, between his array of hands, a couple faces, and then that very large crest there. Before we go into the figure, I don't think that we saw this last time in full. This base is a little bit reminiscent of the Bellerophon base from the Armor Marauders release. So the armature here can tab in here or here. It's got a rocker joint here, so you can take this bracing fulcrum piece and plug it into a variety of notches, so you can change the angle and elevation of this whole bit. This extends up and down. This can go forwards and backwards, technically. B-roll around that. And then this tab can just plug snugly into Drift's behind to hold him in position standing or at an elevated jumping position. And it's got a humongous standing base. So it's got, you know, techie detail and whatnot. People with the Bellerophon, cool people, me, will remember what that's like. Unless everyone here also has Bellerophons.
I don't remember what it's
like.
In
which case...
Are you saying I'm not cool?
What I'm saying, Spencer, is that you are capital C cool.
Ah! Nice.
Awesome. Also, these side sheaths have got a little hinge on them so they can go, like they can move around on their peg connection, and they can hinge outwards as well for whatever posing you want to do. If you want to adjust them for the sake of him grabbing his swords out from inside of them. And then the swords in them are big kind of butcher katanas, as I like to call them. They've got this ridge running down the middle, which goes between a couple of things in here. So there's a whole lot of multi-frictional grippage going on to keep those swords in there. Inner strength is what's loaded into this guy's articulation, by the way, which we can show you finally. I've been so psyched about this. This is my favorite part of the Iron Men that Chemical Attack have worked on. And my favorite bit of this is the leg, so I just want to jump right into this right now. If you bend the knee...
Right to the middle.
That's right. If you bend the knee, there's a whole lot going on, as well as a big, deep curl. And then, as we're doing this, you can see a bunch of linkage activity happening. Like here on the front, we've got a plate and a kneecap moving around. If you look at the side, you can see some of the linkage armatures in action. And then if we swing around to the back, keep an eye on what this is doing here and what this is doing here. Everything is playing real nice, and then if you can see down here, this is getting sucked into the back of the lower leg, so you can achieve like the final full curl. So this is my personal favorite part of all of this, is the sheer amount of motion going on for what is otherwise an extremely straightforward piece of articulation. It's just like it's got an action figure's worth of activity going on while a leg is simply bending. So I've been going on about the legs. Ian, hardreturn.net here, is a big fan of the torso motions.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to playing for this for a while. The amount of ab crunch that you can get in this is actually fantastic. So it's got an ab crunch there. It also has an ab extension backwards. You've got a tilt all the way to the side and then to this side. Like I said, you can extend it back. And then if you look at his back when he does the ab crunch, it's got a whole bunch of stuff going on right there. And that's going to get you a huge amount of motion, plus you get the waist swivel. And that is, to me, always the best part of a figure, is the amount of stuff that you can kind of get going with the core of the body. because everything else is built around it. So if you've got a really cool core, and I don't, but if you've got a really cool core going on, it's okay, I know what I am. But if you've got a really cool core, then there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can get going on that. And what they've got going here is honestly one of the best kind of like torsos that I've seen on a robot.
Is it the amount of stuff that gets revealed as well when you're moving the torso?
Yeah.
Like it, again, the Iron wow, Ian.
I'm sorry.
Wow. The Iron Men do this as well, where when you bend this guy forward, you reveal like it's basically like you're just exposing all the armor plating and workings of his spine, because that's how confident Drift is. You know, if he has to bend forward to do something, he's like, no, you can see my spine. I'm still gonna win this fight with my combat prowess. His arms and neck and the rest of his body are also full of articulation. Like his head can look around, swing around, tilt around, nod, etc. His arms are a very interesting setup. Spencer actually spent a while kind of dissecting through this in a tactile manner, seeing with his fingers, if you will, how a lot of this stuff is working.
I was thoroughly impressed with how they set up the pauldrons, which actually integrate a lot of motion and a lot of movement just specifically in the pauldron itself. From the shoulders as they move out have a flap, and the shoulders allow for movement. Flap moves out of the way for full-on side movement, which is nice. The pauldrons can rotate and have a ball joint on the inside, allowing for much motion within the pauldron itself. The shoulder blades actually move in and out as well, attaching the pauldron. They open up in the back, and very much like standard shoulder blades would in a human body, which is very impressive. And then the vents on the back also move, and the top end moves.
And while you do that,
the circles along the side rotate at the same time. So definitely a lot of operation going on the inside of the pauldron, doing all kinds of stuff going on there. Very impressive. The detailing on the front with the actual Autobot symbol, which is nice because it is a actual licensed product with lights and everything going on inside there. Even just the pauldron itself is almost as much going on as the knees.
Yeah, and the entire pauldron is on a cuff between the block of the actual shoulder and the torso, which is what, like, aside from the pauldron doing all this by itself, the entire assembly as an entity can be swung forwards and backwards as well. The end result being that you as the user say, I want to swing his arm out and forward like this. All of this engineering is then occurring as you do that to allow you to do so without having to think about the angles of what you're doing, which is one of my favorite things about the chemical attack approach. Is they are putting in a ton of work so that you, the user, don't have to when you just want to move a body part, and it's really cool.
So after the pauldrons going on and everything there, we got a lot of stuff going on in the arm as well, giving you a lot of opportunities for posing options. Boris, you want to take a look at that one?
Yeah, so I actually didn't get a chance to play with it a whole lot.
Well, we weren't hogging it, we were studying it.
I'm not gonna lie.
Hogging it.
That's how good it was. But for me, I'm like I said last time when we actually took a look at Drift for the very first time, I didn't actually have a lot of experience with the chemical tech team, and I was saying how in reference to the Iron Man stuff that you guys were talking about, it actually does take a lot from those cues. And for me, all the detail and how the posing can be done with not only the arms and the legs have a lot of that same kind of feel. Everything kind of moves and makes it organic. Of course, you've got all the extra bits here that kind of give it a little bit more life. And the thing is, you know that you can do something really cool with a figure when you start seeing, fingers that kind of are articulated like that. Yeah, exactly. you know it's meant to have a lot of movement back and whatnot, and that's, you know, of course, a very bold thing, because you wouldn't need so many hands to display all of that kind of those gestures if you weren't able to actually do you know, some very extreme poses. Like, look how far back this
My
arm's going.
chest.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, it's not just to show it. Like, when it actually exposes a lot of it, again, like what you guys said, not only is it in the back, but, you know, even in the when you look inside the arms here, the joints here, nothing is kind of left to you know, expose anything that's like, oh, that's just a plastic toy underneath. There's all this detail going on, and I think that's again very reminiscent of, especially for me, having the most newest experience with these super articulated collectible action figures. They're amazing in terms of the detail. So that's kind of my take on it.
There's a little bit, like when you were talking about the hands, I meant to mention the way that the hands plug in here. It's that kind of open circular connection. So that aside from, you know, wrist swivels, you can also get a lot of sort of, I always say ovular. That's the wrong word. Orbular.
Yeah, that's
tilt.
super wrong.
A whole bunch of orbular tilt in here, and then like there's even like a glove cut in the middle of the forearm if you want to get this fin out of the way for any reason. Like if the fin is risking any sort of collision with the pauldron or another part of the body, you can just like rotate it out of the way. Because you know the final piece will be painted. Flame Toys is going to be painting the toy as well, and you wouldn't want to have a lot of parts grinding together while you're articulating the thing and, you know, maybe scratching some paint off. And really, I think the pauldrons are the only place where that potentially could happen. So it's cool that, like, you know, stuff like this is built to let you pause in the middle of play and go like, oh, whoop, all right, here we go. Now he's gonna give you an uppercut, real tight uppercut. I could do better than this. There we go. Proper dragon punch uppercut. We should also mention his big greatsword. This guy's a transformer, and even though he's an officially licensed transforming piece, he doesn't convert. He's an action figure. However, his sword can do a thing. Flame Toys put up a video on Facebook showing this, and now we can actually do it ourselves. So when you have the greatsword, and it's all like, that's cool, he's gonna cut some fools. When he gets mad and he's like, no, I am going to cut some fools, you can push this in. Boom! Now it's not like just a greatsword. Now it's a greatsword with a gigantic guard, so you can, like, you know, catch incoming attacks. You can cram someone's head in there and then just crush it. It's neat. It's like a little bit of transformation just in the accessory. You know, and one could even take some of the moving linkages in the shoulders as other forms of transformation as the figure's being messed around with that are not the figure literally converting into a vehicle. That's kind of cool. You know, just the little gears inside doing all of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the clear piece in there, Ian was pointing out, it does show off that kind of movement.
Yeah, if you right now, at least with in the current stage, when you move it, you can actually see the gearing move up through the crystal in the middle.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's actually it's neat to actually see that.
Like if I get my hands in here to like slow the motion down, if you look inside the gemstone, you can see some stuff. Doing stuff.
Yeah, it's really neat.
That's a technical term, by the way.
Yeah, stuff, doing stuff. And there's a ton of lights in this as well. Like there's a bunch of LEDs, and I know Eric was kind of excited about those.
Oh, absolutely. But I think you guys are taking up all anything I could say. I mean, yeah. I mean, how many lights do we have? It was like some in the legs, right? Some in the chest.
Yes.
I don't know. There was nothing in the eyes, right? Nothing about that.
No,
No, it's in the.
It's all here. I mean, personally, the lights excite me, but I think honestly, I like the figure as in general because it's very human-esque. You're not going to be able to bend it backwards or anything like, you know, a human is not supposed to be bent backwards. If you look at all the other toys that come out and stuff like that, you can bend it every so which way that isn't meant for a human to bend. Whereas this figure doesn't seem to have that type of motion, thankfully. And like Boris was saying, all the joints and everything inside here, it's all covered up. So you're not as much of it is it's supposed to be a toy and it's supposed to be kind of a collector thing. It's kind of I guess not a toy. You know what I mean? It's got everything all cleared up, so it doesn't look like a toy. It looks like something that's a little bit more spectacular, which is what I'm actually kind of excited about. It makes me actually now seeing it a little bit more functional, I guess. Makes me actually want to spend some money, and yeah, I don't usually spend money, but this is something that I'm actually kind of excited to see as it further goes along.
I mean, I got good news for you. The thing's up for pre-order.
I know.
If we didn't mention it.
I would not have known.
Hey, I put it on. So this fancier helmet it's a crest, not the face as well. The faces are their own individual bits, and then the crests are their own individual bits. So this larger, more ornate crest is available if you get this figure off of the D4 Toys website. Any event that Flame Toys is selling the figure at, as well as the Sentinel shop. So if you want a more ornate crest, you've got to go a little bit farther than just a regular retailer.
We've been messing around with this for probably about 30-40 minutes now, and everything I see, everything that, like, we've discovered new stuff, and everything makes me more excited to get my own copy in my hands. And there's just so much going on with it.
Yeah, it's got all the hallmarks of something I expect from this team. Flame Toys have got really good people working on this thing, and a really exciting action figure to mess with, for my own taste at least, and hopefully the taste of some of you out there. Don't know about this guy. It's more or less been our little updated preview of Flame Toys' official drift figure. So this thing is still on track, still en route. It's coming in the coming months, and hope that you dug it, this little preview of ours. Anyway, we've got one last thing to say to you, unless the outro already happened, and you'll find that under the table. And we're done. That's been a reviewer roundtable here at TFcon DC 2017. That's the year. I've been Chris from Vangelist Central.
I've been Henry from Pig for Life Reviews.
I've been Spencer from Moss Toys.
I've been Jay for MMC.
I'm still Boris from A3U Review.
Ian from hardreturn.net.
And we are all still at TFcon DC 2017. Help.